Have you ever wondered why you feel drained after wearing certain clothes? Why people suddenly treat you differently when you step out in a color that should have made you shine, but instead you feel as though every eye is watching you with judgment, envy, or even hostility? There is a reason, and it's not just fashion. Witches have always known the power of colors. They've studied it, mastered it, and used it to their advantage, because color is not just fabric dye, it's energy. And one particular color, when you put it on your body, does more than just catch the light. It marks you. It makes you visible to forces that do not have your best interest at heart. And if you're not aware of it, you'll think it's just coincidence when your peace starts to unravel, when your relationships shift, when your spirit feels heavy. But it isn't coincidence, it's strategy. Witches use this color as a weapon because it does something most people ignore. It exposes your aura. Think about it. Your aura is your shield, your spiritual covering. It's meant to protect you, to keep out negative forces and energies. But when you wear this color, it weakens that shield and paints a target on you in the spiritual realm. Suddenly, you're not just another person walking through life. You're marked, you're highlighted. You're easy prey for those who are waiting, watching, and searching for someone to spiritually drain. And here's the part no one tells you: witches don't need to touch you physically. They don't need to be near you. If they can see you, if they can sense you, if they can recognize that mark on you, they can send things your way. Fear, confusion, doubt, failure, brokenness, it can all be released toward you, and you won't even know where it's coming from. You'll just feel the weight of it. You'll just feel the tension, and you'll blame yourself when in truth, you've been carrying a color that announced you to the wrong kingdom. Think about it. Have you ever walked into a room and instantly felt a certain energy without anyone even saying a word to you? Maybe it was light, warm, inviting, or maybe it was heavy, tense, like you didn't want to be there. That's energy. Now here's what most people overlook. Colors carry that same power. They're not just pigments or trends sewn into fabric. They carry frequency, vibration, and intention. Witches understand this better than anyone. They know that color is one of the most subtle yet powerful tools of influence. And while most people choose colors just because they look good or match their outfit, witches choose colors because they know what those shades will do to the human spirit. They know how colors can raise your vibration or pull it down, how they can protect you or expose you. That's why they use it to their advantage. You see, the world has conditioned us to think in terms of style, not energy. But the truth is, when you put something on, you're not just wearing fabric, you're wearing an energy signature. That signature tells the world something about you, and it tells the spiritual realm something about you too. Some colors empower you, surround you with strength, and reinforce your aura like armor. Others, however, weaken that aura, poke holes in your shield, and signal to negative forces that you are open. And witches, they are masters at recognizing those signals. They don't have to ask questions. They don't have to guess. They see the frequency, they read the vibration, and they know whether you are strong or vulnerable, all because of the color you chose to wear. This is why I need you to stop thinking that color is just about looking fashionable. Looking good means nothing if spiritually you're exposed. Looking trendy means nothing if energetically you're marked, which is prey on ignorance. They rely on you not knowing that every shade has power, that every tone speaks a language. But the moment you understand this, you stop being an easy target. You start to become intentional, and intention is one of the strongest defenses you have. There is one color in particular that witches use above all others, because when you wear it, you're no longer blending in. You become marked, your aura, which should naturally shield you, suddenly lights up like a flare in the night. And that's exactly what they want. You think you're just putting on something stylish, but in the unseen world, you've just raised your hand and announced, "Here I am. I'm open. I'm unguarded." That's how subtle and dangerous it is. You don't even realize you've made yourself visible to forces that you cannot physically see. And this isn't about superstition, it's about awareness. Your aura is real. It's the spiritual current around you, an invisible covering that can either protect you or betray you. When you put on this color, it alters the frequency of that covering. Instead of being neutral, it becomes highlighted, exaggerated, and easy to detect. Think about how predators in the wild hunt. Many animals have camouflage to protect themselves, but if one suddenly glows in the dark, it's done. It's visible, it's vulnerable, and it's hunted. That's exactly what happens to you when you put on this dangerous color. Witches know this, they've always known it. They study human behavior, but more importantly, they study human energy. They don't waste time chasing people who are covered and strong. They go after the ones who have exposed themselves without realizing it. And this one color makes that job effortless for them. It's like carrying a spiritual neon sign over your head that says, "Target me." And once they see it, once they recognize it, they won't hesitate, because in their world, the easiest prey is always the most valuable. When you wear it, what you don't realize is that it doesn't just make you stand out, it weakens you. Your spiritual shield, the invisible armor meant to protect your heart, your mind, your peace, suddenly becomes thinner. It's like having cracks in a wall that once stood strong, and through those cracks, things begin to seep in. Doubt, heaviness, anxiety, confusion. You think it's just a bad day, or that you're overthinking, but it's not. It's the weakening of your covering. Witches know they don't need to break you outright. All they need is to make you vulnerable. All they need is to expose you to energies that will do the damage for them. Your aura is your first line of defense, and when it's strong, nothing can penetrate it. But this color has a frequency that disrupts that strength. It's like static in your spiritual field. You stop vibrating at the high level you're meant to, and suddenly you're open. And here's the most dangerous part. When you're open, you attract, you draw in what matches that vulnerability. Negative people suddenly show up in your space. Tension finds its way into your relationships. Opportunities that should have been yours slip away. It's not because you're unlucky, it's because your shield has been compromised. This is why witches use this color so deliberately. They don't need to touch your body or speak a word over you if your aura is already pierced. They know that the moment your shield is down, you'll start fighting battles that were never meant to be yours. And instead of living with clarity, focus, and peace, you're caught in cycles of exhaustion and discouragement. That's the cost of wearing what they've weaponized. Witches don't just use this color randomly, they use it as a trap, a carefully laid snare designed to draw people in without them even knowing. It's clever because they hide it in plain sight. They dress it up as fashion, as glamour, as something that will make you look bold, confident, attractive. And that's the genius of it. You think you're making a choice for yourself, a choice to express your style, but in reality, you've stepped right into a setup. They rely on the fact that most people never stop to think about the energy behind what they wear. And here's the part that most people overlook. The trap isn't visible to the naked eye. You won't see a sign that says, "Danger ahead." You won't feel an immediate physical attack. That's why so many people are blindsided. They walk through life completely unaware that their color choices are sending signals to forces they cannot see. It's subtle, but it's deliberate. In the moment they recognize that signal, that mark, they know exactly how to target you, how to manipulate the unseen currents that surround you, how to work against you without you ever realizing it. This is why awareness is so powerful. The moment you see the strategy, the moment you recognize the pattern, the trap loses its strength. You can no longer be manipulated by colors that carry hidden intentions. You begin to dress with purpose. You begin to choose energy over aesthetics, and that simple shift, that awareness changes everything. Because when you stop being an unwitting participant in someone else's design, you reclaim the power that is rightfully yours. When you put this color on your body, you're not just wearing clothing, you're carrying a signal, a beacon that witches recognize instantly. And what that signal says is dangerous because it's an invitation. It tells the spiritual world you're unguarded, you're exposed, you're easy to reach. And once they know that, they don't waste time. They know you can be targeted from a distance. They know they can send things your way, curses, confusion, failures, setbacks, and they don't even have to be in the same room as you. That's the reality people don't want to face. You don't have to be touched to be marked. You don't have to be spoken to in order to be cursed. If you've worn the color that signals vulnerability, you've done half the work for them. You've opened the door. Witches use this tactic like hunters use bait. They don't chase prey that's strong, covered, and protected. They wait for the one that's already been marked, the one that's carrying a weakness they can exploit. That's why wearing this color is more dangerous than you realize. It isn't about fashion. It isn't about standing out. It's about spiritual exposure, and the truth is, most people who wear it never connect the dots between what they put on their bodies and the constant battles they're fighting in their lives. They think, why am I always drained? Why do I attract the wrong people? Why do things keep falling apart just when I think I'm moving forward? They don't see that the color has announced them to an unseen world, and in that world, announcements are everything. Because let me tell you this, spiritual attacks don't always come like a storm. Sometimes they come quietly, slipping into your life through open cracks. They come in the form of sudden discouragement, heavy thoughts, relationships that crumble without explanation, finances that dry up out of nowhere. And you think it's just life, just bad luck, but it's not. It's alignment. The moment you marked yourself, you aligned with an energy that doesn't serve you. And once aligned, you attract. You pull in exactly what's been sent against you, and it begins to feel like an endless cycle you can't break. But the truth is, you can break it. You break it by recognizing that witches thrive on ignorance. They want you to believe your struggles are just random. They want you to believe there's no connection between your choices and your battles. They want you blind to the fact that the very thing you're wearing has made you a target. Because as long as you don't see it, you won't fight it. And as long as you won't fight it, they win. So what happens when you stop wearing what they use to mark you? Everything shifts. The curses they send don't land because there's no opening. The heaviness doesn't stick because there's no signal to receive it. It's like turning off a light in a dark field. Suddenly you're invisible to predators who only hunt what they can see. That's what awareness gives you. That's what intention protects. You take back control. And when you take back control, they lose power. And this isn't about living in fear of colors. It's about living with wisdom. It's about understanding that nothing in life is neutral. Everything you do, everything you choose carries energy, and energy either serves you or it drains you. Witches understand this better than most people, and they exploit it, but you don't have to give them that power. You can choose differently. You can choose to be covered, to be guarded, to be unmarked, and once you do, you'll notice the shift. The battles that used to drain you stop showing up at your door. The heaviness that used to cling to you begins to lift. The confusion clears, and your life starts moving with the flow it was always meant to have. That's the power of being intentional with what you wear. That's the power of refusing to play into their traps. And that's the power of knowing that the color which is used to mark you is only dangerous if you allow it to be. Because once you see the game, once you recognize the strategy, you take yourself off their radar, you stop being an easy target. You stop carrying the signal, and in that moment, you reclaim not just your energy, but your authority. And here's what most people never realize when you wear that color. You don't just become visible to witches. You also start pulling the wrong kind of attention from people around you. It doesn't attract admiration the way you think. It attracts envy, jealousy, and hostility. Suddenly, instead of others celebrating you, they're resenting you. Instead of support, you get silent competition, and you're left wondering, why does it feel like people turn on me when I've done nothing wrong? That's because the color carries a charge that stirs up emotions in others, emotions they may not even understand themselves. It provokes something dark, something restless in them, and you become the target of that reaction. You've seen this happen. You walk into a room, and instead of blending, instead of radiating calm strength, you notice stares that don't feel right. Some people look at you with suspicion, some with silent judgment, others with quiet disdain, and yet you did nothing. That's the power of this color. It magnetizes what should have never been directed at you. It doesn't draw out people's best selves. It pulls out their insecurities, their envy, their unspoken bitterness. And then, without realizing it, you carry the weight of their energy on top of your own. Witches know this. They know that the easiest way to destabilize someone isn't always through direct attack. It's through influence. If they can get others to turn against you, if they can create friction in your relationships, if they can stir jealousy where there should have been love, they've already won half the battle. And this color does that job perfectly. It changes the atmosphere around you. It stirs the emotions in people near you. And soon you're fighting battles you never asked for, arguments, misunderstandings, silent resentment, all because the energy of the color you wore amplified the negativity in others. This is why being intentional is so critical. You don't want to draw energy that doesn't serve you. You don't want to provoke battles that waste your strength. You don't want to carry a target that calls envy toward you when you were meant to walk in peace. And the moment you stop giving this color space in your life, you'll see the shift. People who once reacted to you with hostility will no longer carry the same charge. Relationships that felt strained will begin to ease. The tension that followed you into rooms will start to dissolve. Because you removed the magnet that was pulling it all in, and the danger doesn't stop with how others respond to you. This color begins to work on you from the inside out. It doesn't just alter how people see you, it shifts how you feel. You put it on thinking it will give you confidence, that it will make you stand out, but instead it destabilizes you. It disrupts your emotional balance. You start noticing sudden mood swings you can't explain. One moment you feel fine, the next you're heavy, irritable, or restless. You blame stress, lack of sleep, maybe even the people around you, but deep down, it's the frequency of what you've chosen to wear. Colors aren't passive. They carry vibrations that interact with your nervous system, your spirit, your mind. And when you carry the wrong vibration, it starts to clash with your natural energy. That clash creates friction, and that friction turns into confusion, tension, and emotional weight. Witches exploit this because they know once your emotions are shaken, your decision-making weakens. They know if they can make you unstable on the inside, they don't need to fight you directly. You'll sabotage yourself. You'll second guess your worth, question your abilities, and carry doubt that was never yours to begin with. This is how subtle the attack is. You don't even realize it's happening. You just think you're off, but in reality, you've been thrown off balance. And when your emotions are unstable, you're no longer moving with clarity. You're no longer standing in strength. You're reacting instead of responding, stumbling instead of walking with power. And that's exactly what witches want, to pull you out of alignment, to make you question yourself, to weaken your inner ground so that every external challenge feels heavier than it should. But here's the truth. Once you start noticing the pattern, once you realize that your sudden heaviness or unexplained irritability lines up with when you wore this color, you begin to see the trap for what it is, and awareness is everything, because the moment you recognize that the color isn't just fabric, it's energy, you can stop letting it dictate your emotions. You can stop carrying what was never meant to be yours. You can reclaim your balance, your clarity, your inner power. And once that mark is on you, once that color has signaled to the unseen world that you are exposed, you need to understand how easy it becomes for witches to launch their attacks. They don't need to be near you. They don't need to know your name. They don't need your photograph or a strand of your hair like you see in movies. All they need is the signal. That color does the work for them. It lights you up in the spiritual realm and tells them, here's someone I can reach. And from that moment on, distance doesn't matter. They can send things toward you: heaviness, confusion, fear, distractions, obstacles, and you'll feel them hit, but you'll have no idea where they came from. That's the kind of warfare most people aren't prepared for, because it's invisible. You can't see the curse as it leaves their lips. You can't see the negative energy as it moves in your direction. You just feel the results. You just feel the sudden shift in your life, the job opportunity that was solid suddenly slipping through your fingers, the relationship that felt stable suddenly filled with chaos, the peace you carried turning into unrest. And because you don't see the origin, you assume it's random. You assume it's just life happening. But it isn't random. It's targeted. You've been marked, and once marked, you are easier to reach than you think. That's why witches love this method. It requires no confrontation, no obvious act. It leaves you fighting shadows. You're swinging at the air, trying to solve problems that keep multiplying, not realizing the common thread isn't what you're doing wrong. It's what you're wearing that's inviting the wrong energy in. And that's the danger of being spiritually unaware. If you don't know you're in a battle, you won't fight like you're in one. You'll live reactive instead of intentional. You'll accept the attacks as normal, and that's exactly how they want you: defenseless, unaware, and vulnerable. But here's where your power lies. Once you see the strategy, you break it. Once you recognize that they don't even need to touch you because the color has already betrayed you, you stop playing into their hands. You stop giving them the opening. You stop carrying the mark, and the moment that signal is gone, they lose their reach. They lose their access. They lose the power they thought they had over you. And this is where everything shifts, because once you become aware of what's really happening, you can no longer be manipulated. Awareness is the weapon they fear the most, witches thrive on secrecy, on your ignorance, on you believing that life is just random and disconnected. But the moment you see the pattern, the trap loses its hold. You begin to realize that not every setback was coincidence. Not every conflict was natural. Not every heaviness was yours to carry. You see the thread running through it all, and that thread is the mark you unknowingly put on yourself. That's why knowledge is so dangerous to them, because once you know, you choose differently. You stop wearing something just because it's trendy or because the world tells you it makes you powerful. You start asking yourself, what energy does this carry? What message does this send? Does this protect me, or does it expose me? That shift in thinking makes you untouchable. Because when you're intentional, you're no longer an easy target. You're no longer walking through life with your armor cracked open. You've reclaimed control of what you project, and when you control what you project, you control what you attract. Awareness gives you authority. Authority over your choices, authority over your energy, authority over your space. And authority is what breaks curses before they can even land. Because when they send something your way but the signal isn't there, when the mark has been erased, it bounces right back. It can't stick because you're not open, you're not exposed, you've closed the door they needed to walk through. That's the power of waking up to the truth. You stop living as prey and start living as someone who sees the battlefield clearly. And when you see clearly, you can't be deceived. You can't be baited into carrying the very thing designed to destroy you. You walk with wisdom, and wisdom is a shield stronger than anything they can send against you. Intention is everything. It's not just about avoiding a dangerous color. It's about choosing every detail of your life with purpose. Because when you live with intention, you stop drifting into traps and you start building armor. Every choice you make, what you wear, what you say, where you go, who you allow near you, it all becomes part of your shield. That's what witches can't stand. They can't manipulate someone who's deliberate. They can't touch someone who understands that nothing is random, that energy is always in motion, always influencing, always shaping outcomes. When you choose colors that strengthen you, you're not just dressing your body, you're dressing your spirit. You're wrapping yourself in vibrations that lift you higher, that ground you deeper, that reinforce the shield that keeps you untouchable. That's what intention does. It transforms what used to be a weakness into a weapon, because the same way a careless choice can mark you, a conscious choice can cover you. And once you're covered, you become invisible to their attacks. They can send all the envy, hostility, and curses they want, but without an opening, it all collapses before it reaches you. This is the truth most people miss. You have more power than you think. You are not a victim of the unseen unless you choose to live unaware. The moment you wake up, the moment you start asking yourself, does this serve me? Does this protect me? Does this align with who I'm meant to be? That's when the game changes. That's when the signal disappears. That's when you walk into rooms not marked for attack, but armored with strength. And that's when witches lose their grip, because they cannot mark what refuses to be marked, they cannot reach what refuses to be opened, and they cannot curse what has already chosen to be covered. So here's what it comes down to. You are not powerless. You are not someone who has to live marked, drained, or controlled by what others send your way. The dangerous color witches use is only powerful if you remain unaware. But once you see it for what it is, once you understand that colors carry energy, that your choices either shield you or expose you, you take your authority back. You stop being a walking target, and you start being a force that cannot be shaken. Every single day, you are either feeding your strength or feeding your weakness. Every single choice, no matter how small, is shaping the energy you carry. That's why intention matters. That's why awareness matters, because the moment you choose to stand in wisdom, the moment you dress, think, and act with purpose, you cut off access to every force that wants to drain you. Remember this, witches can only exploit what you hand over. They can only touch what you leave unguarded. And when you stop leaving yourself exposed, when you stop carrying what they use to mark you, they lose their power. You become untouchable, unshaken, unstoppable, and that is exactly who you were meant to be.